Welcome to our session on how Salesforce Labs launched the Crisis Response app in 2 weeks. Before I get started, a quick reminder that all purchasing decisions should be based on products and services that are currently available. We would like to start by thanking you. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today and being part of this first virtual dreaming event. It is because of you and this amazing community that employees love creating Salesforce Labs solutions and sharing them on AppExchange. And a big shout out to all of the sponsors. Events like this would not be possible without the wonderful organizations who sponsor them. Please make sure to check out their solutions. By now, you're probably wondering who we are. So I am Sharon Clardy, and I lead the Salesforce Labs program on the AppExchange team. And I am joined by two fabulous solution engineers, Justin and Claire, who are part of the team who created the Crisis Response app. And we're going to hear from them in just a few minutes. But before that, let's take a step back and talk about the AppExchange and the Salesforce Labs program for just a minute. The AppExchange is the hub of the Salesforce ecosystem. It is the world's leading enterprise cloud marketplace and the go-to place to find the right solution to solve your business challenges. Now, the AppExchange is not just about apps. It's an ecosystem of 4,000 ready-to-install solutions that include apps, bolts, lightning data, flow solutions, and components. And to date, customers have installed these 8 million times. There's a Salesforce solution that spans every product, industry, and department. And do you know what? AppExchange is the home for the Salesforce Labs program. Salesforce Labs is a program where we encourage Salesforce employees, like Justin and Claire, to create solutions on the platform and then share them with customers on the AppExchange for free. All lab solutions go through the same security review process as our partners, and they're a fabulous way to get started. We have over 300 solutions available today. We're just going to talk about one of them here. So make sure you go and check out the AppExchange to explore what other fabulous solutions are available. It is important to note that Salesforce Labs are not official Salesforce products. These are solutions created by employees and shared as is creations, oftentimes with the source code available on GitHub. If you are looking for a more robust solution than what the Labs program has to offer, then we encourage you to explore our vast collection of solutions created by partners on AppExchange. Now I would like to turn it over to Justin and Claire to talk about their experience creating this lab solution and show us a demo of what the Crisis Response app can do.
Thank you, Sharon. So let me walk you guys through what the Labs Crisis Response app is in the first place. So what this app is it's a way for Salesforce users and Salesforce companies to be able to track employee and location impact within Salesforce. And where the idea came from is I was actually talking to a VP in IT at a company that uses Salesforce, and he just mentioned there's a lot going on right now. It was in the early stages of the pandemic, and we asked what is he up to, and he talked a lot about technology needs for really managing all of the people that were out of office now and how they're being impacted. And there's also going to be this big push to open back up offices at some point. And there's a lot of work to manage in order to do that. And so that's where the idea was really born. And what we landed on is we created this app that you can download for free from the AppExchange. And you can, in there, track any crisis. And we really focused on COVID-19, given that that's the most important thing at this point in time. And it allows you to basically see what employees are impacted. It allows you to survey your employees. It also allows you to communicate office status and track the reopenings of offices, like work that might need to be done, or tracking employee requests while they're working from home. And then lastly, there's a really nice way for you to share news in the form of like a blog on a public-facing a portal that you can create for your employees. So what we wanted to talk about is how we built this in such a short amount of time. I mean, this was really important, and we needed to get it out really fast. So as soon as we had that idea, we knew that it was important to get it going quickly, and we actually did this all in 2 weeks, all from the point of where we had that idea to the point that we went live and had people installing it from the AppExchange. And so that we broke that up into really 2 weeks, 2 different weeks of work. So the first week was planning and build, and the second week was testing and documentation. And so a lot of people are really surprised when I tell them that in the first week we spent 2 days of that week just planning. And I actually think this was key to how we were able to roll this out in such a short amount of time, because we had a lot of communication early on, a lot of diagramming, and really understanding what the vision of this app was before we went out and built it as a team. And so I'm going to walk you through a little bit more detail of how we did that. But I really have 3 ways and three tips of how we moved so fast to get this out. And the first is recognizing that you can't always do something like this alone. I knew right away that this was not something that I'd be able to roll out in 2 weeks by myself. So Claire, who's going to actually be walking us through the demo, was one of the 3 people who got recruited on very early to just take and own specific products within the app. So what we did is once we decided and agreed on an object model, all 4 of us split up those builds and went out and owned what features were or were not within those objects or those features, so that we could have full decision-making power and move quickly within those groups. The second was we started recruiting supporting teams. So Sharon, who kicked off our presentation, was very important to helping us understand how to actually deploy. So that was very important in our case. We also had some feedback from some architects that could just give us some idea around what may or may not, what regrets we may have if we went any specific route in the data model. So that was helpful. Our third phase was really starting to think, okay, we've built this amazing app. How do we actually get the word out? How do we message it? And this became very important because for us, we really needed to make sure people understood what our app did on the App Exchange when we can't really talk to them and explain it ourselves. So we got a lot of feedback there. And the fourth phase for us was really recruiting people that were really good at writing and people that could help us more technically on the roadmap in the future. And so we really grew our team throughout. And the second tip is communication within that team. So we internally at Salesforce use Quip for everything, and that's no change here for how we really quickly communicated around our project plan for this app. And so you can see in the left-hand side how we assigned out ownerships, and we're really clear about those deadlines. And on the right side, I mentioned in our last slide how important it was for us to agree on a data model. And so this was within those first 2 days that I talked about, where we came up and diagrammed out what our data model would look like. And so before myself or Claire or Shelby or Surabhi went and actually put hands on keyboard to build this out, we all knew how our individual products would be integrating with each other and what features those products would include. And another important part of this communication process was just coming up with design principles very early on. And so this helped us make decisions about what the app would and wouldn't look like at the end. And for us, our 3 design principles were less code, making sure it was user first so that it was very user friendly, wouldn't require a lot of support, and also that it would have little to no impact on production objects because, hey, it's a crisis and we don't want to have to do a ton of integration testing with our already working production objects. So the third tip that I have and how we were able to roll this out so quickly is just relying on what the Salesforce platform is actually good at. And in this case, for us, we relied heavily on flows to avoid having to write code. When we only have 1 week to build, it requires a lot of collaboration between members to make sure we get this out, to make sure we get this out quickly. And so flows was great because it's visual. It's a way for us to go in and quickly make changes. And if you're not familiar with flows, it's really a way for you to create custom logic within your Salesforce app that would normally require code, but you can do a lot of complex stuff in here without ever having to type a line of code. So for a lot of us, we're not developers, we're more admins and background, and so this was very helpful as well for just being able to get more advanced functionality out quickly. And what you're looking at here is actually our COVID-19 risk assessment flow that surveys employees around what they may be experiencing in terms of symptoms or quarantine status so that we could get that information back to HR or their manager. So Claire's actually going to walk you through a demo of the app, and I'm going to hand it over to Claire so she can do that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Justin and Sharon. I'm going to take the next couple minutes here to walk us through how the crisis response app is helping a company, Ohana Inc., prepare their employees to come back to work within the next couple weeks and months. I'm going to start off today as Lauren Bailey, an employee of Ohana Inc., who's going to be accessing the Employee Crisis Response portal to understand more information about what's going on within Ohana Inc. right now, and also communicate her ability to come back to work today. So we can see on the left-hand side, there's some company news that's being filtered out to Lauren based on her role, her location she's affiliated with, and any other company-wide news that might need to be posted. It looks like today there's actually some new reopening procedures that are being communicated out to Lauren here. On the left-hand side, Lauren has access to the different offices associated with Ohana Inc. and their current status of if they are opened, some people are able to access or whatnot. Underneath, Lauren will be able to communicate with the facilities manager at the location, her availability and ability to be able to come back to work today. We'll flip in a second to see that facility manager's perspective of where Lauren has come from throughout this crisis. But today, Lauren is actually feeling great and ready to get back into the office. So she'll go ahead and mark that she's not currently quarantined. And as none of these are applying to her today because she's feeling great, she can move on and start entering in more information about herself so that this content can be sent out to that facilities manager at the location. Next, we'll look at what that looks like for that facilities manager as he's preparing for the different employees to come back into the office today. On this homepage of the Crisis Response app, we're going to be seeing some overall metrics of how the crisis has been affecting Ohana Inc. The facilities manager will log in to see the people that are currently being impacted by the crisis. We can dig into someone like Lauren Boyle to understand more about how they specifically have been impacted and the work that has been done by Ohana Inc. to make this experience more comfortable for them and how they're being supported throughout the process. We can track things like how Lauren has gone through different phases within the crisis and how she's been affected by each of those. The assistance that has been awarded out to Lauren based on her specific needs. So things like job-related items that she has requested, work from home stipends, and even down to things like travel requests and the ability to work from home. Lastly, as we're getting ready to open up the office, it's also going to be important for that contact tracing ability to see where Lauren has been visiting within the past couple weeks and months. So we saw that Lauren has actually been diagnosed with COVID-19 within the past couple months here, and we want to track those locations that she has been to. The Chicago office is Lauren's main place of work, and this is where we can see the full impact of the crisis on this location specifically. Under impact and work, this is where we'll see the full impact that the COVID-19 crisis has had on the location. Things like it's been closed, there's been other community regulations that have affected its normal hours, and also the work that's being done to make sure that this location is opening up safely for the employees that will be entering it. We'll again be able to see the different people that have been affected at this location. So if one of those people has been showing symptoms, we can quickly have access to all of those others that they may have come in contact with to let them know to watch out for symptoms, or even if we need to make other closures or adjustments within the location itself. From the executive level of understanding this crisis and how it's impacting the business as a whole, what's also going to be important is to be able to communicate how Ohana Inc. has responded quickly and efficiently, how they've been supporting their employees throughout the organization, and their plans to continue business throughout this time. Within the crisis, we can track things like those impacts, the assistance programs that have been brought out to the employees, the different plans that are in place for that business continuity, and what is going to be the plan moving forward as we're reopening locations as well. All right, so I know you're probably wondering now, this app looks awesome. How do we get our hands on it within our own org today? So as Justin and Sharon mentioned, this crisis response app is an app exchange solution by Salesforce Labs that's available to download into any org today. Here's our crisis response app posting on the app exchange, where anyone can access things like details about the application and also the supporting documentation around the app itself. Here's where you'll find things like the installation and usage guide that outlines all of the content needed to know for actually implementing this app within just a couple hours, and considerations to keep top of mind as we're bringing that app into your org. The app is a managed package, but we've also made the configuration available through a GitHub repo. Lastly, make sure to check out the Trailblazer community group, where we'll be posting any updates about the app and where everyone can collaborate around different ways that it's being used and for some really awesome use cases that we've been seeing so far. So thanks so much, everyone, and I'm going to toss it back to Sharon to wrap us up.
That demo was amazing. I do hope that all of you take a moment to check out the Crisis Response app to see if it'll be a fit for your organization or to see how the pieces of the platform come together to help solve business challenges. And speaking of solving business challenges, please consider donating to the Mercy Corp, who is Virtual Dreamin's nonprofit charity partner. Virtual Dreamin has set a goal, and if everyone attending donates just $5, they will meet or exceed that goal. Before we move over to the expo and answer questions in the App Exchange booth, we wanted to share with you a new product offering that is relevant to the topic of crisis response and is focused on helping you reopen safely, and that is Work.com. Reopening will be a journey. Let Salesforce Work.com be your guide. App Exchange has created a centralized destination of resources highlighting pre-built solutions to help companies like yours extend Work.com and respond to their needs to reopen their workplace. Customers can integrate free and paid solutions built by partners and Salesforce Labs that span across emerging use cases, such as building business continuity plans and adapting supply chain and industries. Customers can also stay informed with relevant content, thought leadership, and customer stories. We check out the link here that will be provided in the chat, and we can also talk about this more over in the expo. And with that, we wanted to say thank you again. We have been responding to questions in the chat throughout this session, but if we didn't get a chance to answer your question, please come with us. We are going over to the App Exchange booth, and we're going to be there, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you have about the Crisis Response app, the App Exchange, the Salesforce Labs program, or anything else. There'll be other experts in there with us. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of Virtual Dreaming.